Hello and welcome to another Company of Heroes 3 game. My name is Fancy Josh, and today I've got a game for you between Sarg GX as our British, and his opponent today is going to be Jesulin as our Africa Corps. Jesulin already locking in that Italian combined arms in, adding on a Bersaglieri to start us off, and going for Bike next. British player opening standard with a Royal Engineer, and I do expect to see a Dingo next. Map today is going to be Twin Beaches. It's a great map. If you haven't seen Wreaking Havoc's video on this map, I highly recommend you check it out. It has a really in-depth analysis. But the long and short of it is fuel-rich bottom side, a critical fuel point here in the middle, big cutoff that connects you to these bottom beaches, and we're going to see a lot of fighting over this fuel point in the early and mid game, and as the longer this game goes, the more we're going to see players starting to post up in the middle and kind of rotate to each side with their forces. And yeah, it leads to some really interesting games. I think we've got some cool compositions that can come out on this map, and looking forward to it. So, I don't know, I just wanted to thank each and every one of you for the overwhelming support that I've gotten for this channel in the last 30 days. I mean, I just hit 100 subscribers, and I can't even describe to you how cool that is. And thank you so much for your support. I really, really, really appreciate it. And I hope you're liking this new video format. It was a tough decision for me, oddly enough. I really, really liked the widescreen. But I'm recognizing that, you know, making a more an easier to watch video is important. So I hope you guys like the new format, and yeah. I also, you know, while I've been transitioning from the old format, I've been posting 2 videos a day, which has been fun. I did have a backlog to get through, so yeah, little treat for you guys. Fights breaking out here. German did win that fight over the fuel up top. Royal Engineers scuffling with these Bersaglieri. Nice little defensive point for our German here. Going to slow down his opponent. That's what this is all about, right? He's just slowing, delaying, making his opponent's life difficult. Doesn't want him to retake this territory. Trying not to bleed too much manpower, right? So we saw him, rather than risk losing squad members of that Panzer Pioneer, just bailing out a little bit early to save himself some manpower. Got 2 neighbors here. Royal Engineers hanging out with the Bersaglieri in these 2 houses, daring each other to get out of the building. Bike on the bottom side, stealing away the fuel. At the same time that he is losing fuel control in the middle here. More Bersaglieri on the street, on the scene, and duke it out here a little bit. British player predictably has gone up to 2 infantry sections. See if he wants to go for a 3rd. Been seeing people play with this number recently. I've seen folks go up to 4. Seen him stay on 2, which is what we're seeing here. Seen him go to 3. I mean, you know, anywhere between 2 and 4, I think, is just fine. Once you start going beyond the range, you're asking for trouble, in my opinion. But yeah, British players seeming to favor 2 right now, and then gonna get a quick scout car on the map, I imagine. Excuse me, armored car. Is a bit of fuel away from that, but has reestablished his supply lines, so should get that relatively quickly. German player continuing down the Bersaglieri buff line, picking up the increased squad size. Probably going to see the Model 30 light machine guns added on next. Artillery barrage coming out from our scout car, and we are going to see a 3rd infantry section here. What changed his mind? Or what changed his mind? Maybe he didn't see any vehicles and decided he didn't need the Hummer armored car. That'd be interesting. In any case, we are going to have a 3rd Infantry section, and here comes the flak half-track now. And yeah, these guys are still neighbors here. That's hilarious. Wonder who's going to cave first. Looks like it will be the engineers. And just gotta get out of the house and call it good. Bersaglieri also going to do the same. Switching houses. Tell me they're going to switch houses. Oh my god. Thought we were going to see him just trade there. Wouldn't that be ridiculous? So both players seemingly not caring about these munitions. There's a ton of free munitions up for grabs here. A little surprising there. Armored car on the field now. Just in time to deal with a flak half-track. And British player is going to take that victory point. Motorbike on the bottom side stealing away the fuel. German player adding on the GRB 39s. Grenade launchers. Really, really good against units in cover, of course. And, to be honest, this map has a lot of heavy cover right through the middle, so could be pretty good. Both players jumping out of cover at the exact same moment, taking a shot and backing off. Mechanized Panzerjägers on the field for our German to deal with the armored car. He added those on before he even saw the armored car on the map. Dingo is on notice, though, because he'll have to be very careful not to overexpose it to a 250 full of Panzerjägers. Looks like the German is hunting the Dingo a little bit here. AT gun on the way. And both players seemingly willing to stare at each other across no man's land here. Unusual to see. Now, yeah, Bersaglieri are decent at long range, so it's not terribly surprising that both players want to fight at long range, and you know, neither one willing to walk into that open space to try and capture the point. I guess, you know. True section pushing away this top side. Looks like he was securing that munitions, but changed his mind to deal with his opponent there. Rail engineers closing the gap with these Bersaglieri. Wouldn't mind them getting a little closer there. They're probably already at maximum effectiveness. Grenade coming out, though. Getting a good hit on those Royal Engineers. Infantry section choosing not to finish their capture are going to get suppressed. Humber armored car is trying to shoo away those Bersaglieri, and it is going to succeed. And now it's the Panzerjäger's turn to come in and do the same. Artillery barrage coming out from the Dingo there. Going to saturate this area. A T-gun hanging out, waiting to do something cool. Dingo might chase, deciding better of it. Good decision, considering there was a flak half-track just waiting for him to try it. And yeah, you know, I think we're going to see a pretty significant munitions disparity between our two players if this keeps up. I mean, our German has had this top munitions point the whole game, and neither player, well, German captured this one before his opponent captured this one, and this, I think this is the first time this is being captured, and our Germans had this the whole game, so German definitely has a lot more munitions to work with that, and I guess that's what we're seeing a little bit here with these GRBs, and I suspect we're going to see plenty of the Model 30 light machine guns. Disappointingly, no mines. You guys know me. If they're not planting mines, they're not doing it right. Of course, I'm joking, but I do think mines are very good, especially when you have a munitions surplus. First player has gone for the heavy armored battle group. Picked up this rigorous vehicle training. So gonna let these units get experience more quickly. I do believe he also researched the infantry training. He did. Closing the gap with his Bersaglieri. Veteran C2 on this Dingo. Very cool. Getting at that increased weapon accuracy. And British player seemingly willing to give up this top fuel. Rotate down to the bottom. He brought most of his forces here. Love to see these Royal Engineers get a little bit active. German player spread out evenly across the entire map here, so he is going to pick up some free territory that his opponent has moved out of, including this cutoff point. And again, rotating to the top side. All right. Second AT gun on the field for our British player. The 250 from our German has been converted into a mortar. So love to see that. I think indirect fire is always good, even when your opponent doesn't have a lot of team weapons. Great hit from that grenade, actually dealing plenty of damage to that armored car. Flak half-track going to shoo it away. Panzerjäger's coming in to try and finish the job. British player barely going to sneak out of there. Should be able to get that armored car out. AT gun firing at the flak half-track, but is going to have to back up. Getting out of there, no problem. First player going deep with these Royal Engineers. Love to see him try and take away that victory point, to be honest. It does look like he's going to go for that fuel. So, you know, I find myself saying a lot of things that are, you know, really obvious as a caster, right? I have perfect information. This is a dead dingo. Don't need perfect information for that. In any case, you know, I was just a few minutes ago I was talking about the fact that our British player rotated to the bottom, German player moving in, and I was talking about how I'd like to see our British player move out, and I only know that because I can see the entire map. But at the same time, you know, the only way that you as a player or our players in this game are going to know what's in the fog of war is by exploring it, right? You have to get out there to figure out what your opponent's doing, find their units, and yeah, so despite my you know, maybe less than insightful comments about the fog of war, you know, I do think these players do need to be a little more active, right? Sitting in this cover is not what you want to be doing. You want to be capturing, you want to be finding, you want to be slowing, harassing your opponent. Anything you can do, really. Bersaglieri barely going to be able to stop this capture from happening. Armored car is there to support, though. Light machine guns just finished on the Bersaglieri, and is going to drive away the infantry section, second infantry section coming in to prevent the capture from decaying there. Smoke grenades from the mortar half-track. Going to let this Bersaglieri delay even longer. German player managed to sneak the cutoff point while that was happening. Armor car seemingly taking a mortar there. Maybe it was a grenade. Your section continuing to fight. Smoke grenades coming out from the British player. Is he going to finish the capture? That'd be good. He is going to get it. Nicely done. More infantry sections on the scene here. And our British player has added on a fourth infantry section, is going for grenades now. AT guns set up in covering a large area, but going to go down to this infantry. Flak half-track moving in to take advantage of that. British player ought to think about grabbing this AT gun back, but it's not going to be a small task. GRB grenade launcher putting in some serious work, hitting these units all clumped up in cover. Armored car moving back in after the Jaegers have been pushed away. And yeah, nicely done. Delaying just long enough is our British player to let him retake this point. So, victory points, very even right now. German player is controlling 2. British player might be able to get his hands on the top one here, but seemingly content to fight these Bersaglieri here in the middle. Incendiary mortar coming down from the German, going to drive all these units back. Armored car trying to help out. AT grenade, rifle grenade from those infantry. Blasting the Bersieri out of this house. And Panzer III on the way for our German player. So his fuel lead is coming to fruition here. British player does have the tools he needs to deal with it, though. So doing just fine. British player doing a great job vetting up his units. German not far behind on the veterancy front. That's partially the research from the British player, partially just keeping the units alive. Now, something that's particularly good about the British research, in my opinion, is that 10% harder to hit. I mean, 10% harder to hit on your infantry is freaking huge. And really makes these units go a long way. So, love seeing that from our British player there. Panzer III on the scene. AT guns backed off by this infantry, moving back in, but going to get wiped by the Panzerjäger. Panzerjäger going to go down. Nice pickup by our British player. Panzer III hiding behind the house, so it doesn't have to deal with the AT gun. AT gun getting remanned. Panzer III taking the bait, though. Not in vision just yet. And British player going to reposition there. So it looks like we got a big push into this top side by our British player. Panzer Pioneers just waiting for their chance here. Spotting out these units. Protecting his AT guns here. You know, I really like this from our British player. It's tempting to have both your AT guns on the same hotkey. Keep them close together, right? Just, you know, limit your APM. But AT guns spread out like this is really, really good because if your opponent manages to close the gap with the AT guns, you know, they can just get in behind you, right? And by keeping them spread out like this, your opponent can't do that. They're always covering each other. Also gives them more areas they can be active, like this one should get a shot here. Nice little hit on that side armor is going to force that unit back. So, you know, with these overlapping fields of fire, he can control the space and theoretically get some units in to capture some territory. Lovely use of this armored car. Sitting back at max range, right? Ticking away at his opponent. And Stuka on the way for our German player. Very cool. You don't see Stukas very often in 1v1. They are, of course, very popular in team games, as I'm sure most of you know. Folks on Reddit love to remind us of that. But Stukas in 1v1 can be pretty darn good, and I do think they're going to be good in this particular situation, just based on the way our British player plays, right? He's content to sit in cover, kind of duke it out, and, I mean, he does have a couple AT guns, so I think the Stuka is going to be pretty strong. Rail Engineers managing to capture this bottom fuel, but are going to get pushed away. Looks like the flak half-track wants to chase. Bren gun upgrade on these riflemen here and make them more effective at all ranges. And, you know, our German's army composition is looking mighty interesting. You know, he does not have a lot of infantry, let alone support weapons. And fully reliant on all these vehicles, and it's very cool to see. Using Afrika Korps the way they were designed, you know? Just a huge variety of vehicles. So Panzer III on that top side. Scoping around. Humber armored car marking with this mark area ability, giving him 20% increased accuracy against these units. And totally wrecking them despite them being on the retreat. Panzer Pioneer's going to grab this point. And, alright guys, Crusader 2, let's play the game. Crusader 2 or Matilda. And it is a Crusader. I can never ever tell by the icon. I have to check every time. They look so similar to me. I know that they're different, but my brain just can't do it. Stuka on the way here. Fortunately for our British player, focusing the fuel points. Actually hitting his Pioneers there. But smart decision, right? As soon as you hear that Stuka going off, back off. Armor car finding the motorbike for a second there. Panzer III going to protect him, though. And, yeah, British player pushing into this middle. Actually going to pick up the Panzer Pioneers on the retreat there. Probably also going to get the grenade launcher. Black half-track duking it out with this Veteran C3. This Vet 3 armored car there. Crusader 3 getting aggressive. Now this is really risky, right? He does not know if there are mines in the fog of war here. He also doesn't really know if there are AT guns. You know, bottom line, there could be anything. And even though he's correct to push in there, very, very risky to do it. Crusader 2 going to rotate on this bottom side. AT guns getting real aggressive here. Actually getting some good hits on the Panzer 3 there. Lancing blow on that second shot. Crusader getting a huge hit on the Bersaglieri there. So he's going to be feeling pretty good about that. And I do think we're going to see another Crusader here. A lot of players will add on a Matilda afterwards. But looks like our British player is going to go for another Crusader. And I think in this particular situation, that's a good idea. Not a ton of infantry on the field for our German, and our British has the resources he needs to deal with it. Deal with the infantry, that is. So having another Crusader to deal with the plethora of vehicles from his opponent, I think, is a good decision. Particularly when it comes to mobility. So, you know, and as expected, right, both our players kind of focusing on the middle area, right outside their base, sort of rotating to each side as action unfolds. It does look like our German is going to focus this bottom side. Stuka moving up. Not going to throw down any fire just yet. Smoke grenades going out, blocking the side of these AT guns, making them reposition. Flare going out from the recce package. It is a recce package. Yes, it is. Don't know why I doubted myself. Of course, it's a recce package. Bersaglieri finding the engineers once again, going for those skill points. Crusader 2's getting aggressive here. Are going to find the lone Panzer 3. Both players going to back off. Stuka taking a shot here. Crusader's going to bounce. And actually barraging deep enough to hit these AT guns. So good takedown there. Was considering following up on it, but I think that was a wise decision not to. And those Bersaglieri in jeopardy here. Getting hit real bad by the Crusader 2. Gonna miss that last shot. Is he gonna go deep? He is. Still didn't pick him up though. And that's the artillery cover here from our German, preventing his opponent from pushing in much further. And those are in jeopardy there. Barely gonna make it out. So it's such a cool ability. It's like a massive area denial, right? It's hardly going to kill units, but it is going to stop whatever your opponent's trying to do in that area, right? And they cannot sit in it. So it's sort of taking the idea of Collins to the extreme, right? Collins, at least in, you know, previous iterations of this game, were all about denying your opponent's space or forcing your opponent to let you into an area, right? They weren't necessarily about killing units. And, you know, and this one is like taking that concept to the max, right? Because it sits on the field for what, a minute and forces units back. So Stuka barrage coming in there. So, excuse me, strafing run. Actually doing a number on those engineers, but not quite picking them up. Bersaglieri going to steal away this top point, but do have to give it up to the armored car. Both players licking their wounds after that fight. Does look like the German's going to be back out on the map fairly soon. Not quite repairing this up, but it is self-repairing. That's got to be the upgrade from this box here. Yep. So he's got a bunch of stuff in here. Emergency repair kits, vehicle survival package, even had the, well, of course he's got the combat half-tracks because he has the mortars. So I was about to ask where our German player goes from here, but pretty obvious answer. He is going to go for another Panzer III here. I was thinking that I wouldn't mind seeing him save up for a support elements and potentially go for a Tiger or a Panzer IV. But, the reason I say that is because he's got plenty of victory points to work with here. He's not even being ticked down at all at this stage of the game. And as we all know, British have rather poor anti-tank in the late game. And all I mean by that is their only real option is the 17-pounder, which of course is insanely good, but it's not highly mobile. So Panzer III is picking up that AT gun. German player is going to be able to, British player is going to be able to remount it from the looks of things. Second AT gun on the run here. Crusaders rolling in to try and help out. Panzer III is on the flank. AT gun remounted. Strafing run coming in. Going to wipe the AT gun again. Nicely done. I actually think he should just go ahead and destroy it. He is. Really good decision making here. Doesn't need to get aggressive on these Crusaders despite doing okay in that fight. And just rotating this Bersaglieri up to that top point to take it away. Lovely stuff. Infantry section going to grab this bottom side. Black half-track still alive. Going to keep that victory point safe. And, you know, I know everybody here has tried to keep a vehicle army alive. And just how freaking difficult that is. So, you know, I know that our German player is playing a bit passively, or you could argue that, right, with this flak half-track kind of sitting way back, not doing a whole lot. But, I mean, it's alive, and it's been used at the right times to keep his units, his victory points safe. So, overall, love to see it. I'm very, very impressed. I mean, heck, even his bike, his motorcycle's still alive. So, German player, or British player, very focused on this top side. Love to see that motorbike maybe explore the bottom side, but I guess he's using its vision here. Let's check out what that vision looks like. Yeah, so when it's still, right, it can see all the way out here. So he knows his opponent is not in the middle. Very cool. And, yeah, settling down just a little bit. Churchill Black Prince on the field. For our British player, very cool. Don't get to see this tank very often. So, Black Prince is pretty bad news for our German, I think, at least in his current state. German player has a lot of fuel, but not a lot of manpower to support it, and is nearing pop cap. So, actually, you know, I'll double down on my statement. I do think he should go for a Tiger here. It's going to be a ways out in terms of manpower, but he definitely is going to have the fuel to cover it, and I think a Tiger is going to do great against this Black Prince. He might also consider something like a Flak 30 Flak gun. Blanking on the, yeah, Flak 36. I was doubting myself, guys. I knew it was a Flak 36, and I wanted to say Flak 30. I wanted to say it, and I was like, but what if I'm wrong? In any case, does need some form of heavier anti-tank, in my opinion. Barrage coming out on this top side really doesn't want his opponent to secure that point. Bersaglieri going to grab this victory point, so nicely done. And this is the power of Bersaglieri, right? We are entering that stage in the game where their elite status really starts to kick in. And, you know, this is, by the way, this is what the developers had intended, right? They wanted these Bersaglieri to be hit Vet 3 slower because, you know, they're going to get that 20 health, they're going to get that movement speed. So, yeah, they're going to become powerhouses here in short order, and they're going to be able to sprint all over this bottom beach, and they're going to be able to beat the infantry sections down here at their own game, and hopefully take a lot of space. Support elements has finished not support elements. Armored reserves completed for our German player. giving him access to the Tiger. So he needs, what, another 3 minutes before he can have the Tiger on the field. So just has to delay his opponent, not lose any of his units. It's okay for him to lose territory, but he cannot afford to lose these Panzer IIIs. And as I say that, Crusader's getting really good side hits there, attacking ground through the smoke, picking up one of them. And that might be a dead second Panzer as well. Crusaders continuing to chase, one of them hitting Vet 3, and that is definitely a dead Panzer 3. So really, really nice pickup for our British player. Going to set his opponent back to the Stone Age. And Bersaglieri taking down this AT gun. But there is British infantry here to stop the capture from happening. That said, our German player continues to control 2 victory points here, so not bleeding. Has all the time in the world here to try and recover. Stuka coming out. Maybe here. Yes. Getting one good hit, but unfortunately for him, going wide with the others. Black half-track finding these infantry, being marked by this Veteran C3 motorbike. Crusaders have something to say about that, though. No more bike, I think. And from the looks of it, no more flak half-track either. Bike goes down. Black half-track goes down. And looks like it's going to be the rest of the vehicles following in short order. Yeah. So I think, you know, our German player did not have the units that he needed to sustain that army long term. And had to save and save and save to get this Tiger out. And unfortunately for him, losing all of his units and then just desecrating their corpses with his Tiger. Prince managed to destroy this, I'm not even sure what building that was. Is that the support? Yeah, light support company there. Tiger bouncing off the armor of this Black Prince here, which is totally nuts. Again, bouncing off the side armor. Holy cow. And that Tiger is unsupported. Got a strafing run coming in, though. But now that this Tiger is surrounded, it is donezo. And German player not going to give his opponent the satisfaction. Throwing in the towel. So, yeah, I mean, you know, it turns out that our German player was on a knife's edge that whole game, right? I mean, he had a very delicate composition, very cool composition, but ultimately very delicate. Imagine if that Stuka was a Panzer III. Imagine if the second Panzer III our German built was a Tiger. You know, there were chances for that game to go differently. But overall, I thought it was a really cool build. I hope you guys enjoyed this video as much as I did, and I will see you in the next one.